Thanks, girls, for coming in, Rachel, Dee. It's weird because I've been meaning to chat to you like for a very long time now. Mm-hmm. I do observe. I'm one of those kind of owls where I sit on the tree and observe what everybody's doing. And Birmingham Says No. First of all, what are you all about?
Wow, we're all about like positive youth work, really. Positive platforms for young people, educating young people, enlightening them, but generally just being there for young people and offering them an opportunity to have a voice. As two adults, we have more of a voice than they can often have themselves as young people. So for us, it's about giving them a voice, it's about representing, it's about kind of, showing them that people actually care and that we can do things on their behalf when they often can't.
And I think it's so amazing, Craig, because obviously when we started out, we've only been up and running for like 18 months. And we've just evolved so much, and it's understanding that every single young person out there is so unique. And just doesn't, you don't always, not every one of them likes music, not every one of them likes dance. We've catered for everything. We're putting on the events. We've done an online FIFA 21 tournament, which was absolutely amazing. We've even got young people in the city who are into, people might love, like pigeon fanciers. And we found this young 14-year-old boy who just felt so isolated because he didn't like bike riding, he didn't like rap music, he didn't like dance, he liked homing pigeons. And with the support of the UK Pigeon Fanciers, we've actually set him up, the whole pigeon fancier set up in his back garden, and I think that's what it is. We just understand there's so much uniqueness out there.
And this is why I like to have these conversations, because one of the things I always talk about is there is multiple problems and challenges that our young people face.
Definitely.
And there is not one solution.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people look in this space and they're quite critical of our work.
Yeah.
They're like, you're not doing that, or you're not doing this, or you're not doing enough. And I guess the reason why I kind of create these platforms is to kind of show that there's loads of work taking place and there's loads of different people in the space. It's not just the same common faces.
Yeah.
And I guess for me, even when I kind of just reflect on my own work and everyone's like, Craig, there's not many of you doing the work. And I'm like, yeah, there is.
Yeah.
So for me, it's kind of like I want to utilize this opportunity to know a little bit more. As I was growing up, we'd be like, yo, Dee's one of us, she's from Hockley, she's from Winton Green. So we've got a different love going on here, even though it's the first time physically that we've met, other than walking past each other from time to time. But in terms of kind of like the campaign, the national campaign, because I remember there was one time there was a national campaign and then it became Birmingham. So what was that all about before we kind of start going into some of the stuff around? It started
off initially, there was just an announcement on Facebook. Two ladies that were part of Operation Shutdown in London had severed from that and decided they were setting up their own thing called Croydon Says No. One had lost her son, one had lost her nephew, and they wanted to do something in relation to night crimes. They put this kind of shout out on Facebook, is anyone interested in representing their city? My son, in 12 months previous to that, had been held at knife point and robbed, and we'd been talking about it for a long time, hadn't we? Even prior to that, saying, we want to do something with young people, not necessarily about knife crime, but we want to work with young people more. And so we were like, yeah, great, definitely want to get involved in this. But their approach was more of like a protest, wasn't it? They wanted to do a march, didn't they?
Yeah, the plan was, that we'd stand at one end of Broad Street with our placards and walk to the other part, the other end of Broad Street. But it's like after, many discussions, we're kind of, who really pays much attention to protests? If you want to, get noticed or make a change, you've got to kind of do something different. So this is when Rachel stepped it up a whole gear then, didn't you, Rachel?
I was like, I want Victoria Square and I want a staged event and we're going to go all out and we're going to involve young people. Because to me, there's a stigma around this whole arena for young people. They can't be seen to not be following the crowd. Yeah. And for them, it appears that the crowd is those that are carrying knives, those that are selling drugs, those that are affiliated to gangs. So they can't be seen to be standing away from that crowd. So I was like, well, how many young people are we going to engage walking down Broad Street with a plaque saying, no to knives? So we went with a whole different approach and went with like a dance event. We had dancers, we had spoken word, we had grime artists, we had bike riders. We just invited everyone, loads of young people from across the city, and it was just phenomenal as a start.
Why I like the concept is because, in my PhD I'm talking about that the way that kind of social policy has changed over the last, let's say, 12 months, our focus of engaging with young people has has kind of been targeted towards those young people that are carrying knives, those young people on the periphery, those young people that are involved in county lines. Yeah. But we kind of ignore the good kids. We ignore the ones that are trying to do well. And I just, sorry, just before I bring you in, Dee, I remember a woman saying to me, she said, she said, you know what, Craig, being good is actually so hard. Yeah. And being bad is just so easy. And then she put it on me and said, you know, what do I need to do to get a mentor like you? Right. And what she was ultimately saying is that you're in this particular space, engaging with all the bad kids, and I'm doing all the right things. What
happens in the classroom?
So how do I get a fun mentor? How do I get a fun teacher? Yeah. So I like the idea and the concept around, you know, inviting young people and not necessarily making because you're right, there is a stigma. You know, when you hear knife crime, youth violence, criminal exploitation, it's kind of like, do I want my children to kind of be a part of that? Yeah. And I do believe that there is a space where young people are actually saying, well, I'm saying no against it, but I'm actually nothing to do with it. Yeah.
See, and this is the thing, it's kind of, we've come across so much, haven't we, Rachel? It's kind of, it seems to be a lot harder for a young person who doesn't want any involvement in street life or gang life or crime, you know, even down to mentally and sort of, you know, the support. We've mentored or we've arranged mentoring for more children who just want to live. They just want to be able to walk down a road with their friends without being stopped, feel safe, and that's, you know, and that's kind of, you know, how we make them feel when we put our events on. Yeah. It's like we said, you know, the last one we had in February 2019, wasn't it?
Just prior COVID.
Yeah, and 700 young people from every single postcode in Birmingham, Walsall, Coventry, London, turning up at a youth event, no fear of, you know, violence, no fear of danger, just to come into a building and to have fun, you know, to participate in a dance competition, to talk to each other, to make friends without the fear of, you know, oh, am I going to make it out of here alive? Or what if I look at someone the wrong way? You know, and that
and it was just amazing. It was moving around in that environment and seeing the young people just laughing and having fun, and you know, the girls and the boys interacting, and the boys, you know, there was none of that kind of heavy moodiness. There was no, you know, people with the screw faces. And what we always do, we have security at our events. All the young people know when they come in that they're wanted and they're searched before they come in. Simple reason we do that is to make them feel safe. So when they come into our environment, they know that ultimately they're safe because everyone's been searched and checked. So they kind of, it's really bizarre. It's like they just let go. And I say, they all had free food, cooked food, you know, they'd get free drinks, free raffle.
Can you imagine
it's just like everything?
700 people. We're like, oh my God, have you got enough food?
I'm eating for like 4 or 5 people. So, yeah.
We're like, oh, we can feed them all. Cut back on them portions. We're shouting in the kitchen.
For me, the crazy part was that we started the event at 4:30 and at 4 o'clock there was a queue. There was a queue of young people all up the street waiting to get in, and we were like,
we never turned up to anything
and I believe that is kind of the, you know, we always talk about showcasing young people, and I think that's where, you know, those that are interested in coming into this space and those young people that are watching this thinking, I want to become youth workers, I want to become youth mentors. Sometimes it's not just about just focusing on the negativity, the badness. It's sometimes about, you know, what young people want to contribute. Yeah. You know, we've just started a peer mentoring program. The young people are amazing. And I'm just thinking, but they also have an intention to want to do, but they think that it might be that I only have to work with the negative and the kids that may be causing problem, or the children that are ultimately in need. And I think, no, there's actually more young people like yourselves that want to enter this space and support. You don't have to be a bad man. You don't have to come from a background of badness. You don't have to be an ex-offender. You don't have to be an ex-anything. It's the passion, it's the drive, the commitment, the empathy, the sympathy to want to engage with young people. And I think that sometimes that's what counts, and that's why I like what Birmingham Says No does, because it kind of, you know, opens the door to let people know that they can do that.